Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. September has been an interesting month for silver so far. We've seen a pretty decent pullback to around the $22 level for the spot price of the metal, and that pullback is continuing today. Really though, these moves in the metals seem like just a bit of noise to me, and I'm continuing to add to my stack at these price levels. Although, of course, I'm not buying silver for $22 an ounce. That sure would be nice, but premiums on retail silver products remain elevated. You're lucky if you can find an ounce of silver for around 25 bucks. And that does seem like a good deal today, but historically that is a pretty high premium for generic silver products. And the premium on certain products, like the American Silver Eagle for example, remain much higher than normal, typically 30 to 40% over the spot price. The premium situation never really got back to what most of us stackers would call quote-unquote normal following the silver squeeze back in February. Here we are 7 months later and physical supplies are still tight. I really don't think these high premiums reflect greed on the part of dealers either. There's plenty of competition in the physical precious metal space, and I really don't think dealers are colluding to keep premiums high. Instead, I think the premiums just reflect the real price of physical precious metals based on market factors like supply and demand. Remember, the spot price is a number that comes from the COMEX and from derivative paper contracts of silver. What we're seeing with premiums is a disconnect between the world of paper silver and real, genuine physical silver bullion. I wouldn't be surprised if going forward we see premiums go even higher. But again, this is just the real price of silver rising, while the manipulated paper price remains low. Even with the elevated premiums, I'm still stacking, and one very compelling reason to do so is highlighted in this report from investing.com titled "Silver Sentiment Hits Worst Level in Years." Basically, the silver sell-off we've seen this month has contributed to levels of pessimism about the white metal that we haven't seen since 2018, a low point for the precious metals markets. Of course, although a sell-off and record pessimism don't guarantee that the price of silver will move up anytime soon, when prices are low and others are selling is the best time to be buying. You see, you want to buy silver cheaply when no one else wants it. You don't want to be waiting around for the metal to take off before you get your hands on it. For anyone who remembers the silver squeeze back in February, which was admittedly a bit of a false start, you'll recall how premiums shot through the roof and supply was very limited. Times like that are the wrong time to be buying. But human psychology being what it is, it can be tough to buy when an asset is moving down. Patience is one of the most valuable assets for an investor, and accumulating physical gold and silver on the dips is, in my opinion, the right move at the moment. And of course, none of this is investment advice. I'm just a guy on YouTube, so take it for what it's worth. But there are many factors that could ignite a huge run up in the precious metals, really at any time. And I want to have my stack squared away before any of those factors come into play. Buy when there's blood in the streets and all that. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, please give it a quick thumbs up and consider clicking that subscribe button and bell icon and sharing the video with your friends. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Here's a document that was released earlier this month that really highlights one of those potential factors that could drive up the price of silver. It's titled "The Solar Futures Study." Compiled by the U.S. Department of Energy, this document outlines a move towards significantly more solar energy production in the U.S. The stated goal is to move towards 40% of our power coming from solar by 2035. And to put that in perspective, last year in 2020, about 2.3% of our power came from solar. So in order to make the vision outlined in this document a reality, to put it simply, they're going to need to make a ton of solar panels. And this is bullish for silver in two ways, really. First, and most obvious, is that solar panels require a lot of silver to manufacture. The document actually does get into this a little bit, and it kind of downplays the need for silver, suggesting that copper or other metals could be substituted. But it really ignores the fact that solar panels made with copper are a lot less efficient and they don't last as long as panels made with silver. The document estimates that a global energy decarbonization would consume up to 40% of global annual silver production just for photovoltaics. And typical of a government-produced analysis, it disregards and downplays the effect that this increased demand would have on silver prices. It basically makes the assumption that all this silver could be acquired for today's prices. Now, that's obviously not going to happen. According to the Silver Institute's numbers, in 2020, photovoltaic production consumed just over 10% of annual silver production. So to quadruple consumption from that level obviously would have a big impact on the spot price of the metal, even assuming all other factors stay the same. Here's the thing though. I mentioned that this drive by the government to increase solar output and decarbonize energy production is bullish for silver in two ways. Well, the second factor that's great for the silver price is that all of this revamping of the energy grid is going to be expensive, probably way more expensive than anticipated, and it's going to be financed by fiat dollars. So not only would this spending be directed towards a project that will consume a lot of silver, but at the same time it's going to be costly and it'll be financed by printing currency, which will further boost the price of silver, at least nominally, simply due to inflation and the expansion of the money supply. So what else is going on in the world? Well, China has decided to ban all cryptocurrency transactions. This is a pretty significant development, and one that kind of highlights how vulnerable cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are to regulation. You see, governments and central banks don't like competitors to their fiat currencies. And in this case, China has taken a pretty hard stance and just straight up banned cryptocurrency, basically overnight. This shows that Bitcoin and cryptos aren't necessarily the safe havens they've been touted as. And if governments begin banning or regulating them, then all that money that has fled into crypto as a store of value and a hedge against inflation is going to need to look elsewhere for investments with those properties. Silver and gold will probably end up being the beneficiaries of this. And some people might say that governments could just ban precious metals investments too. They could ban holding physical silver bullion or gold bullion. And it's not like this is a completely outlandish claim. Gold bullion was banned in the US for 4 decades of the 20th century, so there's something to this argument. But here's the difference. A ban on precious metals is damn near impossible to enforce. A ban on crypto, not so much. I mean, blockchains and their ledgers can be analyzed, the money can be traced. It's all done on the internet and electronically, so gold and silver bullion, they're a lot more anonymous. They're basically like the ultimate form of cash. That's why you can dig up an old Roman gold or silver coin today and it's still valuable. As far as China's motivation for banning crypto, I think they just want control over their money. The Chinese central bank has been experimenting with its own electronic currency, the digital yuan, and China is only interested in digital currencies that it can control. Now, one thing China has been doing is stocking up on gold for decades. And I suspect that they're aware that the dollar's days are numbered, and they're just preparing for the day that it dies. What will they do when that day comes? Well, maybe they'd like to come to the world's rescue with a gold-backed yuan or something along those lines. One thing I've noticed is that crypto permabulls seem to just be brushing this off, acting as if China banning cryptos is no big deal. They'd prefer to focus on a country like El Salvador adopting Bitcoin as legal tender. I really think this is a textbook case of confirmation bias, as clearly an economy the size of El Salvador's is pretty negligible compared to China. China is on track to be the world's largest economy, and over the past several years, a huge portion of the Bitcoin mining hash rate was coming out of China. So I really think this development is a huge negative for crypto in general, and while I doubt Bitcoin is going away anytime soon, I do think we could see some of that money seeking a safe haven and inflation hedge flow into gold and silver rather than crypto moving forward. What do you think? Is now a great time to be stacking up precious metals while sentiment is in the gutter? How do you think government-subsidized solar will affect the price of silver? What about China's crypto ban? Bad news for crypto, or do you think this is just a bump in the road for Bitcoin? Let me know in the comments below. I want to say a big thank you to everybody watching. If you liked this video and you'd like to see more about gold, silver, money, and precious metals investments, there are some videos popping up on your screen that you can click on, so check those out. And keep on stacking, everyone. I'll catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker out.